This video is bones of the vertebral column and associated bony regions / structures. We'll start with the vertebral column as a whole. You do have 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, and 5 lumbar vertebrae, followed by the sacrum, which evolutionarily, developmentally started as 5 vertebrae, which then fused together into one structure, as well as the coccyx, which is actually usually 4 fused vertebrae. I say usually because there's actually some individual variations. Some people have more, some people have less. It gets weird. I will show you C1 and C2. They have specific names. They're different enough from the rest of the vertebrae that they have an individual name. The atlas is C1. The axis is C2. I recommend looking up, actually, no, I'll do it for you, the Greek god Atlas. Hopefully there's nothing weird with this. I had to pause there because my internet decided to just not work for a second. Okay, this is the Greek god Atlas. He carries the world on his shoulders, and that's what they mean with C1 being Atlas. The world that it's carrying on its shoulders, in this case, is going to be the skull. So you have an articulation here with the occipital bone. And so it's very much like that statue holding things up like this. In fact, these surfaces right here are what's articulating with that occipital bone. And then axis is after that, and you see it has this little thing that sticks up into the atlas, and it sort of allows for this pivot joint to be there. That was cervical vertebrae. Going in alphabetical order, we're going all the way down to that coccyx that I mentioned. So that's the tailbone. It is not vestigial. We have a lot of things attaching to it. We have a lot of muscles attaching to this coccyx right here. Now, your lumbar vertebrae in general, you do have 5 of them. They're big, chunky things. They have some unique anatomical features that currently you don't really need to worry about. Going in order, here's your sacrum. Again, developmentally, this was 5 vertebrae that fused into one. Where are we? Sacrum, thoracic vertebrae. This alphabetical order is probably not the way to do this. Thoracic vertebrae, there are 12. Every single thoracic vertebrae is associated with a rib. That's part of what makes it thoracic, is it's going to have articulations with ribs, and that's going to make it a very different shape than either cervical or lumbar vertebrae. Okay, let's look at a specific vertebrae, or just a sort of general. Let's do a thoracic vertebra that's specific. We do have some specific things. We have facets or facets. In undergrad, they pronounced it facets, which agrees with like the facets of a diamond or a jewel, has like a smooth, shiny surface. That's a facet. But in grad school, everybody referred to it as a facet. I don't know who's correct. I don't think anybody is necessarily correct on that. You can say it either way. So a facet or a facet is an articular surface. It's like going to be a sliding, gliding planar joint where 2 surfaces can rub against each other, and it'll be smooth. There's nothing craggy to tear anything up. That's what a facet or a facet is for. So you have facets or facets to articulate with the vertebrae above it, and you have more facets to articulate. The other side of this is smooth. You have more facets to articulate with the vertebrae below it. You do have intervertebral discs. I'm just going to show you on this guy. That's that fibrocartilaginous pad in between the bodies of the vertebrae. These are the bodies of the vertebrae. That's the intervertebral disc. You have several processes. A process is a sticky outy thing. Usually processes are a little bit smoother than tuberosities, tubercles, things like that. So this is a process. That's the same process on the other side. This is a process. So this is the spinous process, and these 2 are transverse processes. So let's do transverse processes and spinous processes. Singular spinous process for each vertebrae. The body of the vertebrae is that big chunky point. So we have The weight of the vertebral column going through the bodies of the vertebrae. The rest of this is articulation with other levels, gives you like side to side and anterior to posterior movements, attachment sites for a lot of musculature. And then of course we have this, it's not on your list, but vertebral canal, that's where your spinal cord is. Your spinal cord's going through there, so it's very protective. So you need more than that body of that vertebrae. And that's it for the vertebral column.